to 12.9 select styles only.
Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Today is Friday, December 8th, 2017. I'm blasting off with some UFO reports. This UFO sighting took place in Riihimäki, and this is a blast from the past, from February 1st, 1992. A glowing sphere that made no sound, orange and hovering. The witness goes on to detail, reporting this for my friend. My friend told me that a sighting he and his friends had in my town about 20 years ago, very near where I live. They were about 8 to 10 years of age, sliding down a hill near a smallish but dense forest during winter time and the evening. Suddenly, they apparently saw a strange light coming from behind the hill and went to investigate. They go to about 3 meters away from the reddish or orangish pulsating object, and it was about 1 meter in diameter, if I recall him telling me right. Also, it was hovering about 1 meter from the ground. They got scared, and all of them ran home and tried explaining it to their parents, who naturally didn't believe them. After years of convincing his parents, they just said it was probably a meteor or something. Anyway, they went back a few weeks later, too scared to go earlier. The trees around the spot where they had saw it apparently were burned. The tree bark just 1 meter from the ground, from about the length of the sphere they saw. But also the snow below the place had melted away. He said nothing grew on that spot for about a decade. He showed me the spot about a month ago, but it was too dark to properly see anything. I might go check it out again in daylight when I have the time. Though the burn marks have faded, few trees were cut around the spot. Thought they were small trees, and we wondered why would anyone cut them, since they were kind of young trees, and for firewood there would have been better trees to burn. Additional information and question. He told me that the object did not make any sound. He and his friends still believe they saw a real alien spacecraft. I forgot to ask how many of them there were. And he gives the Google coordinates, about 60.732078, 24.757420. If you are around my town, I can probably show you the spot. I might go there to check on the burn marks at some point. Ooh, cool. Next UFO sighting. In Bridgewater, Virginia, this occurred December 4th, 2017, a big light coming towards house just above the electric lines. The witness goes on to state at around 6:15 p.m., walked out front and noticed very bright yellow gold light coming towards the house. Couldn't miss it, as it was big and bright. I thought it was a helicopter at first. It stayed completely round, and very bright light did not change. No sound, no blinking lights, just a big yellow gold ball going across the sky in front of my house in a straight path about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Took pics and video until I couldn't see it anymore. Not the least bit scared, just curious, and I want to know what it was. I'm guessing it was a drone, but honestly, I have no clue. The last 2 pics that are blurry I took right before I saw the bright light, but I have no clue what it is. Didn't realize I had 2 blurry pics. Our next UFO sighting occurred in Bismarck, North Dakota. This occurred December 3rd, 2017. They briefly state, I and others have noticed for about 3 to 4 years. I'm one of 2 that have had extremely close encounters. Maybe just me. Arm's length. Just me. The witness goes into more detail. Hello, this started years earlier in Williston, North Dakota. These lights started appearing. A few here, a few there. I noticed right away because although they look like stars, they are not. Keep in mind, this was happening pretty much at the same time the media mentioned drones are a big deal in North Dakota, and they will be in the local skies. Cool, I thought. It's not my place to say disinformation, or maybe the two are completely unrelated. I appreciate for the most part we are safe, and God bless the USA and all of the good people. Maybe they are drones, maybe not. In fact, if they are, why pay any attention to boring me? Now for the good stuff. I thought, how weird is it when your naked eye views them, they look similar to a star. Viewing them through a mechanical piece is something different altogether. That's crazy and freaks people out. And it should. It changed my life. And I don't mean distance moving on quickly. And please don't be mad. Whatever you are, I respect and fear you, but not sure I need to. What's scary is simply put what I see nightly if I step outside on my rooftop is not normal. Looks like a star for sure. They are, from what I've gathered, are plasma orbs. These orbs are actually three orbs when they are near. I'm not afraid of the outcome because it's so amazing. Our normal reactions, reality, isn't in the same realm, so instead, although my life hasn't been so lucky, I consider this a reassuring positive, I hope. They have a matter or plasma in between them and a smaller antenna. Huh. When they're close, you can see it, and it scares the heck out of me. They can be a constellation size object 1 minute, then shrink down to the same formation and be outside your window model aircraft size just seconds later. They did this last night. Did an effect where they, after I asked in my head, "Where are you?" then they came. All the way from a distance looking like fireworks. I'm also once again joined by the owl hooting outside. They love animals, or it is of importance. Zoom in on the two photos, both orbs. However, the one above the building, which I won't name to be decent, the orb has with it a bear and its cub. Stood out immediately for me, but on two separate occasions these orbs have created birds about 20 feet above my head and a flock for a friend. Call it a grand finale. I'm not saying anything else here. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I'm not trying to hurt or bother anybody, but I'm basically alone with this. And it takes a lot. They are whatever they want to be. They can change and create massive objects overnight. Thank you. Oh, and these photos are from my phone. These objects are at a range of 50 to 75 feet, I guess. When extremely close, then kind of act like a firefly, and I won't share that with anyone through photos and would be afraid or consider it disrespectful. Lastly, I'll include a definition I found somehow that is extremely accurate, and they did not put it. Apologies on the chopped up English here, people. I'm just reading the reports. That's all I'm doing. All right, the next UFO sighting. This took place in Boise, Idaho, a black triangle sighting. They briefly state, I saw two triangle-shaped objects with pulsating lights of varying colors flying in a triangle-shaped pattern underneath the projected light of the moon. They go on to say more. Last night I was walking with my dog when I noticed a projected angle of 45 degrees underneath the light of the full moon. Two large triangle-shaped objects flying in unison in a triangular or circular flight pattern while emitting a strange pattern of lights. These two objects spun faster and faster for about 2 minutes, then disappeared over the foothills to the northeast. The next UFO sighting occurred in Simferopol, Crimea, on November 25th, 2017. They state, in short, I didn't know what I captured until I got back home. They go on to say the day was the 25th of November. We were going to a Thanksgiving luncheon. On the way, I took several random pictures of buildings. Later, when I was back home from the luncheon, I browsed my camera roll to look at the pictures I'd taken the afternoon. I didn't notice the glow-like thing the first time when I looked at the picture. It was the second time where I zoomed it and was literally shocked. To me, it looked like an angel. I want to make this clear that the time when I was taking the pictures of the buildings, I didn't notice it at all. I love taking pictures, so I had to focus and my stuff in my iPhone to get that perfect shot, but I really didn't see anything above the building. And it's not lens flare or an insect if you see it. I don't even know what that thing is, so I decided to share it with you guys. Have you ever seen anything like this before? The next UFO sighting occurred in Hagerman, New Mexico. The date, October 5th, 2017. They briefly say, I watched 8 lights. The first 3 were evenly spaced, moving fast. 2 more started moving up, then I saw the other 3 moving at different speeds. By the time they were just over my head, they're about evenly spaced, and then they were gone. My wife was there too. The witness continues to state, I just went outside with my wife when she was smoking when I thought I saw a satellite. Then I noticed 2 more coming with it. I've never seen 3 satellites together. I told my wife, check this out. Then I see 2 more catching up with the 2 others, followed by 3. They were even faster. I asked my wife, do you see this? Soon they were all in a row and just disappeared. Wow. On to some paranormal points. This was dictated message from the little people. Editor's note coming to us from Sky Ships Over Cashiers. In early May 2016, Evelyn Gordon and I made a trip to eastern Tennessee to visit a private 200-acre woodland where an ancient race of little people supposedly still lives. According to the owner of the land, he and generations of his family have protected and interacted with the little people. While we were there, we asked the owner, Xander, if he might be able to get the little people to communicate with us. About a year and a half later, on September 27, 2017, we received the following message, which Xander says the little people dictated to him and said it could be shared. We've added the highlighting, they state. The article continues, we are the little people, and we do have something to say to you. Our governing council has approved this dictation to our friend. Our history is very complicated. We once lived nearer to the center of the galaxy. We are one of the oldest humanoid races. We have a glorious culture and expanded to several solar systems. We have a very peaceful existence and traded with many groups. Then the first galactic war began, which created a dilemma for us. We were asked to join each side. Although our values clearly had us aligned with one particular side, we refused to participate in a war. The ones who dominate eventually took our area over, and we as a race were systematically being killed off. After years of harsh punishment, the leader decided to banish our race to this planet. We were forced to stay here or die. We agreed to this and will honor our agreement. We now are imprisoned on this planet, as are you. Genetic experiments were done on us, and we were reduced in height, and much of our ability to use the energy waves of the universe was greatly reduced. Your ancestors, which you know as the Soltrian, Clovis, and Cro-Magnon peoples, had this ability too, and now you have none of this ability at all. These ancestral colonies were the first inhabitants on this planet. They were later brutally attacked and killed off by savage ones of your current people. A single family of the ancestral colonies remains and lives in obscurity. We call these people those of the green and silver eyes. Your people were modified from this ancestral race, but the ability to contact.
Rush into Old Navy for $1 cozy socks, today only in stores. Plus, frost-free jackets are $20 for adults, $15 for kids and toddlers. Today in stores and at oldnavy.com. Ends tonight. Cozy socks valid 12/9, jackets valid 12/8 to 12/9, select styles only.
Or use the galactic energy was permanently removed. You were created to be a slave group. We retain some of the ability to use the galactic energy, which explains much of the abilities you ascribe to us. Some of it is deserved and some not. The ability to appear invisible to you is nothing more than use of this energy. By using this ability and combining it with the use of crystals, we are able to gain access to your media and systems. Please remember that the ones who dominate have full use of this energy, as your ancestors did. We fear several things which originate from your activity. You do not understand the natural force here, which abounds in nature. Instead, you cut down trees, continue to mine the ground, and waste almost everything you gain. From our point of view, you destroy everything you can. This is all due to the complete loss of your connection to the energy waves of the galaxy. For this reason, it is important for you to realize that you must be governed by another group, which has such abilities. Alone, you will destroy yourselves and much of the environment in which we all reside. Unknown to you, a third galactic war rages at this moment, and is moving into this sector. Battles have happened in this sector before resulting in a planet being destroyed. It is known to you as the asteroid belt. Before long, you will have to make a choice. The ones who dominate are not so kind as they were when we were moved to this planet. Now all their defeated enemies are forced into slavery or become their food. Only some of you are suitable slaves. The vast majority they will process as food. A small group among your people, which some of you call the Cabal, have contact with the ones who dominate, and willingly obey their wishes because they've been promised control of the planet once the dominators have secured it. Nothing could be further from the truth. We know how the dominators act, and they will devour these traitors in a victory celebration. The fate of mixed-race people will not be better. They will have to fight for their lives as entertainment for the dominators. Even now, the Cabal trades small children for the dominators' technology. If babies and children cannot meet the quotas, then other humans are sent. This is being done in numbers that few would believe, thousands per month or more. We absolutely do intend to raise your alarm. You do not know the enemy you are facing. There are other forces aligned to oppose the ones who dominate. Some think these will suddenly appear as saviors, but they will demand a heavy tribute and will not tolerate disobedience at all. We call them the ones of the Council of the Galaxy. Most likely, they will establish a permanent center for their fleet to operate on this planet or nearby. They also will exterminate traitors among you and get rid of the mixed-race people, because each race was developed for a specific purpose or environment. We are sure they will place your ancestral race in charge of you here. They exist in many parts of the galaxy and are considered to be your superiors. They know what was done to their colonies here and will eliminate the savage ones who destroyed them. There is no other choice. You will be under the control of either the Dominators or the Council of the Galaxy. As for us, we are all that remain of our people. We wish to remain apart as we are. Our numbers are falling rapidly, In a few hundred years, we will no longer exist. This is our accepted fate. We urge you to consider the position in which you now find yourselves. Ooh. For those of you who don't know, I wrote a book called The Secret War that was published in 2001. And it's written by myself, Heidi Hollis, and kind of goes over something similar. So that was an eye-opener for me to listen to just now, let me tell you. Wow. Huh. I wanted to read a little bit more about this person who invited this author out, named Xander, who gives a physical description of the little people. She goes on to state, Xander gave us a wealth of information about the little people who live on his land, including detailed physical descriptions. They're between 3.5 and 4 feet tall, he began. Their skin color is a very subtle shade of light blue, just enough to recognize the color. As for their faces, they're rather ordinary and look like faces you'd see in town, but smaller. Their eyes are usually light in color. I've seen blue, gray, and yellowish eyes. Neither my father nor I have ever seen any little people with dark eyes. My green eyes seem to intrigue them, and they've commented that they have relatives or friends with green eyes. The teenagers are the most curious and the ones most likely to be seen, Xander explained. A time or two, one of them has reached out and touched me. Once there was one in a tree above the path I was walking. Suddenly he was hanging from a limb about 3 inches in front of my face because he wanted to look in my eyes. For some reason, they're very enamored with green eyes. Green eyes mean something to them. Normally, though, they walk like anyone else and leave footprints and bend the grass, yet they definitely have the ability to become sort of invisible, though not 100%. If they're standing still, you can still see them easier. So when people are around, they keep moving. Most people wouldn't see them, or they'd just see a wisp go by. As for their clothing, Xander said, they wear short leather pants, much like German lederhosen, knee-high socks and ankle-high boots that look like hiking boots. Their shirts are a bit like old U.S. cavalry bib shirts with double rows of buttons. They don't usually wear hats, but I have seen some wear old-style ball caps like back in the time of Ty Cobb. Some of them wear bowler hats. And the women have very similar dress and long flowing hair. Everything from totally white to blonde to light brown to red. They usually stay back, and the young children stay back too. Mary Joyce, the author of this article, goes on to state, it's worth noting that because of their light body weight, the little people seldom leave behind clear footprints unless the ground is damp. The day we were there, it was dry, and we were fortunate to find one tiny footprint beneath the old tree. As Xander searched for footprints, he explained that the little people love that spot, and when all is quiet, especially when the fog rolls in, they sometimes go there to do circle dances and sing. Up here where I live, there is a lot of fog, Xander explained, and when it rolls by, sometimes you can hear their songs. I've had a lot of people that have told me that too. Then with a chuckle in his voice, he told us a story. Once I hired 3 fellows to help me with some fencing work. They were from another country, and when that happened to them, they left running. They jumped in their old Pontiac and drove off so fast that I thought one of them might have hurt themselves, and they were rushing him to the hospital. When I saw them later, they said they'd heard singing in the fog. Then they curiously asked me, "Are you familiar with this?" I said, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." Then they called me something derogatory in their language that seemed to mean something like evil wizard. They left and wouldn't come back. They wouldn't even accept the money I owed them for the work they'd already done. The only one who will work for me is a man who was my father's employee. He added, sometimes he has talked about my father and the unusual things the two of them had seen and heard on the property. We asked Xander if the little people had musical instruments. He said he'd never seen any, but He had occasionally heard their flute music. How one man communicates with little people. Editor's note: this is a third in a series about visiting the private property in eastern Tennessee where an ancient race of little people still live. Xander, the owner of the land where the little people still live there, remembers his father and grandfather communicating with the little people. He goes on to say, "My father had an ability that I probably don't approach to contact the little people," Xander told us. "My grandfather and great-grandfather had it too, but my children don't seem to have it at all. It seems to be some sort of genetic capability that is fading away." He then explained the unique bond between his family and the little people, Yuchi Indians, who once thrived in eastern Tennessee. The Yuchi Indians were like no other Native American tribe, he began. Their language was unintelligible to every other tribe that existed, and they were used as translators for other tribes. There are rumors that some early explorers came through this area and found that the Yuchi could translate English and German as well. They were people who had fair skin, would sunburn easily, and had light-colored hair and blue or grayish-colored eyes. They were about the same size and look as most Europeans. We found all this intriguing and later spent hours slogging through academic papers, theories, and histories of the Yuki to confirm that Xander had told us. We found the following information written by Richard Thornton, one of the country's leading experts on southeastern Indians. The most interesting. It is from an article he posted in May 8, 2016 on the People of One Fire website. Goes on to state, the Yuchi migration legend states that their ancestors came by boat from the home of the sun across the Atlantic and arrived in the vicinity of Savannah, Georgia. Recent archaeological discoveries appear to confirm the Yuchi's version of history. It has been discovered that there was a massive flood in Ireland, western France, and western Spain around 2050 BC. Most of the indigenous people of Ireland, aka the Black Irish, either drowned or were forced to leave. At the same time as this flood, the first pottery appeared in North America. Would you believe that was made in the Savannah River Basin? Thus it appears that the oldest tribe in the southeast was neither ethnically nor genetically, quote, American Indian. It's worth mentioning that the Yuki call themselves Children of the Sun, which supports the legend that they came across the Atlantic from the direction of the rising sun. It is also interesting that the leprechauns and little people long have been associated with Ireland. Perhaps some wee ones also escaped to America during the flood that hit Ireland in 2050 BC. After all, Xander says, the little people on his land wear clothing more like old traditional European clothing than that of Native American tribes. Then Xander quietly said he believes he might be a watered-down remnant of the Yuki people. Because his family has lived in the Yuki territory for the last 2 centuries and because the little people have felt safe interacting with him and his ancestors. He goes on to state, "It was my father, who died in 1993, that I decided to contact the little people myself," Xander said. "I went to the place where they live and just said out loud, 'Are you still here? Are you interested in communicating with me? If so, then I'll come back here tomorrow and you can show me a sign I will recognize.' So I came back the next day and there was a circle that they made out of some kind of woven straw, and on it there were 8 to 10 extremely light blue feathers arranged in a circle like spokes on a wheel. Each one was about 6 inches long and an inch or so wide. They were pretty heavy for bird feathers. I've never seen feathers like them. Yes, I took the circle of feathers as a sign, so I gathered them up and left a note. The next day I'd written a note on the paper for me. Since then, I've written them notes so many times that I can't remember exactly what I wrote the first time. If I leave them a pencil, they'll write me notes. While they can print, it doesn't look pretty and neat. They always write that they prefer to talk to me. When I go to our special spot in the woods, they will speak to me, but they don't speak out loud. It's definitely telepathic communication. And then they show an actual note. Absolutely fascinating story. You guys have got to check out the links to this. Thank you so much for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. And be sure to check out
Rush into Old Navy for $1 cozy socks, today only in stores. Plus, frost-free jackets are $20 for adults, $15 for kids and toddlers. Today in stores and at oldnavy.com. Ends tonight. Cozy socks valid 12/9. Jackets valid 12/8 to 12/9. Select styles only.
UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And also tune into my other weekly shows. I co-host on The Kevin Cook Show on Tuesdays and my show The Outlander on Fridays. Both shows are at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And catch my paranormal comic strip, The Outlanders. Direct links can be found at my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com, or just go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.
Rush into Old Navy for $1 cozy socks, today only in stores. Plus, frost-free jackets are $20 for adults, $15 for kids and toddlers. Today in stores and at oldnavy.com. Ends tonight. Cozy socks valid 12/9. Jackets valid 12/8 to 12/9.